Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Srila Rupa Goswami Prabhupada ki Jai. Srila Jiva Goswami Prabhupada ki Jai. अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय. निताई गौर प्रेमानंदे. हरि हरि बोल. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, dear devotees, once again for kindly being present here today for the 58th session of our detailed discussion on Srila Rupa Goswami's Śrī-Upadeśāmṛtam. I'm very thankful to Dhameshwar Mahaprabhu Prabhu for kindly hosting all these sessions for so many weeks. You know, it's 58 weeks of hosting. Dear devotees, 1 year and more has passed that we are discussing this text of Srila Rupa Goswami. And we took our time because we wanted to understand the text in great detail. And not only have we understood it word for word, but we are also trying to look into the various commentaries, and we are also trying to discover new aspects of the text. In every generation, there should be something new. If we do not explore anything new, we will become like a stagnant lake. And then in a few generations, there will be nothing to look forward to. There will be no newness in the path of Krishna Bhakti. And then that will really stagnate the Hare Krishna movement. Therefore, dear devotees, in every generation, we should have something new, something fresh to look forward to, which will always keep us alive in our Krishna Bhakti, always keep us nourished. With this mood and intention, dear devotees, I would like to begin our session number 58 on Srila Rupa Goswami's Śrī-Upadeśāmṛtam. Since it's a detailed study, we have lots of time to understand the various aspects of the verse. We will begin, dear devotees, with Shanti pathah, or with auspicious Vedic invocations. Sahana bhavatu, sahano bhunaktu, sah viryam karavavahai, tejasvinavadhitamastu, ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Sahana bhavatu. May Bhagwan protect both of us, the student, but especially the teacher who is teaching. Sahanau bhunaktu. May Bhagwan bestow the highest fruit of the study upon both of us. Saha viryam karvavahai. May both of us attain the strength to realize the highest truth. Tejasvi now adhitamastu. May our study shine forth brilliantly. Ma vidvishavahai. May we never envy each other at any point of time. Om Shantihi, Shantihi, Shantihi. May there be Shantihi, all-round peace in all the three worlds, dear devotees. It is also important to glorify Srila Rupa Goswami Prabhupada, who has so kindly composed and collected this text of 11 verses, Śrī-Upadeśāmṛtam, for us. This is a verse of glorification for Srila Rupa Goswami, which glorifies his name in all declensions of the Sanskrit language. Rupo bhakti rasamritarnavamatho, rupam hi vandai sada, rupenamita bhakti tattvam rupaya shashvannama, rupat kopi na gaura nikatago. रूपस्य काव्यं वरम् रूपे प्रीतिरिहास्तु मे दृढतमा रूपश्रये त्वामहम्. Dear devotees, this is a verse of glorification for Srila Rupa Goswami. The noun Rupa has been used in all possible ways. Whatever possible ways a noun can be used in a sentence, it has been used in this single verse. First, the noun Rupa as a subject. Rupo Bhakti Rasamrita Matho. Shri Rupa is the churner of Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu. This is nominative case or the subject of the verb. Then accusative or object of the verb. Now the name Rupa as an object of the verb. Rupam hi bandai sada. May I always glorify Shri Rupa. Now instrumental. Shri Rupa as an instrument of an activity. Rupena amita bhakti tattvam avitam. Countless truths regarding bhakti were protected by Shri Rupa. Here Shri Rupa is an instrument of the action. Dative case, when something is completely offered unto a particular person or an entity. Rupaya Shashvan Namah, constant obeisances unto Shri Rupa. Here Shri Rupa is the receiver of the constant obeisances. Then ablative, or you can say comparative case, where a noun is compared and shown to be superior to others. Rupat kopina gaura hrin nikatago. Nobody is closer to the heart of Gauranga than Shri Rupa. Then genitive, which shows a relationship. Rupasya kavyam varam. Extremely superior is Shri Rupa's poetry. Here there is a relationship shown between Shri Rupa and his poetry. And that poetry is deemed to be extremely superior. Next is locative. Something is present within Shri Rupa. So in this world, may I have the most resolute affection in Shri Rupa. And finally, vocative, calling out to that particular entity. Rupa Shraye Tvamaham. Oh Shri Rupa, Shraye, I take shelter, Tvamaham, of you. So this, dear devotees, is glorification of Srila Rupa Goswami using all the noun cases in the Sanskrit language. Dear devotees, we are on the final instruction. Krishnasya chai pranayavasati preyasibhyopi radha kunnam chasya munibhirabhidas tandrigeva vyadhai yat preshthairamapyalamasulapham kim punar bhakti bhajam tat premedam sakridapi saras natura vishkaroti. Nameshwar Mahaprabhu, kindly read the translation.
Sri Radha is the greatest repository of amorous prema of Krishna, greater even than the other gopis. Her Kunda, too, is similarly described as the greatest repository of amorous Krishna prema in all ways by the learned sages. Such Krishna prema is certainly rare to be obtained, even by dear premi bhaktis like Narada Muni. What then to speak of ordinary sadhaka devotees? This Radha Kunda, however, manifests that very Krishna prema for an individual who bathes in it even once.
Even once. So anyone who bathes in Sri Radha Kunda even once, sakridapi, avishkaroti, this Kunda manifests tat prema, that prema. But which prema, dear devotees? In the previous session, we had discussed something about the specific nature of the prema that Sri Radha has. And in the previous session, I wanted to give out some details, but due to lack of time, I could not give out some details. But today I have that time. So I will give out those details which I could not give last time. Dear devotees, this is the translation, and we have seen the translation last time. This Radha Kund manifests that very Krishna Prem for an individual who bathes in it even once. And what Krishna Prem? That Krishna Prem which is rare to be attained even by Premi Bhaktas such as Narad, etc. And what type of Krishna Prem was it? So we saw that specific type of Krishna Prem in the previous session, and we discussed all the transformations of Prema, all the way up till Mahabhava and up till the final limit, Madanakhya Mahabhava. We saw that last time. Dear devotees, we should further understand Prema Tattva. What is Prema? Once again, Sri Rupa Goswami has said, Syad dridheyam ratihi prema. When ratihi or sthai bhav, I have explained previously what is sthai bhav. Sthai bhav is the permanent, predominant emotion which is present in the heart of the ladies who are eternal lovers of Sri Krishna. That sthai bhav is also known as ratihi, madhura ratihi. Dridha, when it becomes very firm, it becomes very condensed and nourished by other elements such as vibhav, anubhav, it turns into rasa, it becomes prema, dear devotees. Now, there is a fact. What is the fact? In the previous session, we also read from Ujjvala Nilamanih Kiran of Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. And he describes the various transformations of prema, sneha, mana, pranaya, etc. only in relation to Samartha rati. What is Samartha rati? The specific type of rati which the gopis have. He had described all these transformations only in relation to Samartha rati. We studied three types of rati. First was Sadharani rati. Sadharani rati is present in Kubja, and second was samanjasa rati. Samanjasa rati is present in the queens of Dwarka, etc. And third was Samartha rati, which is present in the gopis. All the transformations of Prema were described by Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur only in relation to Samartha rati. So, a doubt arises. If only Samartha rati is capable of becoming Prema, what about the love of the other two? Like, what about the love of Kubja, Sadharani rati, and what about the love of the queens of Dwarka, samanjasa rati? Do they not attain, do they not become Prema? So the answer is yes and no. They become Prema, yet they do not become Prema. Dear devotees, please hear carefully. This is a technical part. So once we understand the technicalities nicely, then we will be able to relish better. Dear devotees, we have to understand that the term Prema has two different nuances, two different meanings, according to Srila Rupa Goswami's usage in the Ujjvala Nilamanih. See, the first stage is rati, which we also call as sthai bhav. When rati becomes further nourished, it becomes prema. When prema becomes further nourished, it becomes sneha. When sneha becomes further nourished, it is mana. When mana is further nourished, it becomes pranay. On further nourishment, pranay turns to rag. On further nourishment, it turns to anurag. And on further nourishment, it turns to Mahabhava. This was the sequence that we saw last time. Dhameshwar Mahaprabhu, Prema is which stage of development in this particular series?
The second.
The second. So this is one definition of Prema. The second stage of development of Rati is Prema. That is what we can say. So dear devotees, this is one definition of Prema. Another definition of Prema is all other transformations of Prema are also known as Prema. Please hear carefully. One is Prema, the second stage. And from the remaining 6 stages, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 are also in general known as Prema. What is the proof for this? Sri Rupa Goswami himself gives the proof. Sri Rupa Goswami says, Ataha prema vilansasyur bhava snehadayastu shat prayo vyavahriyante mi prema shabdena suribihi. Prabhu, kindly read the translation.
The 6 transformations of Prema, such as Sneha and so on, are also referred to as Prema by the learned souls.
Wonderful. So now we have two definitions of Prema. One is Prema, which is the second stage of development, and one is Prema, which is stage 3 to stage 8. These are also known as Prema. Now, we can try to understand the subtleties of the term. Dhameshwar Mahaprabhu, which was the first rati that we saw previously?
Sadharani.
Sadharani.
Sadharani rati.
Sadharani rati. This is present in Kubja, etc. So, Kubja, her love towards Bhagavan, it has an element of self-pleasure, and that element is the most prominent element in her love, Sadharani rati. In her love, her pleasure is most prominent. This is the lowest type or the least type of rati defined by Sri Rupa Goswami. Why? Because in this type of rati, as soon as one's goals are attained, one's pleasure is attained, the mind naturally does not show so much affection towards Krishna. So once particular goal of enjoyment with Sri Krishna is attained, then the mind says, all right, my purpose is attained, so I'm happy. So this is Sadharani rati. Now, Sri Rupa Goswami will say in the Ujjvala Nilamanih that Sadharani rati will attain till the second stage, which is Prema. Now, question. Dhameshwar Mahaprabhu, does Kubja experience Prema?
The first type of Prema.
Wonderful. In a general sense, she experiences Prema. Now, does Kubja experience the full extent of Prema?
No.
So, the answer is yes and no. Kubja experiences Prema, but Kubja doesn't experience Prema till its final limits. This is the limitation of Sadharani rati. Therefore, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur did not select Sadharani rati when he was explaining Sneha, Mana, Pranaya, Raga, Anurag, because Sadharani rati can only go till the second stage, which is Prema in general, or what you call as Rasa, basically, Madhurya Rasa. Now, second is samanjasa rati. This is present with the queens of Dwarka, etc. Sri Rupa Goswami will give a subtle point in Ujjvala Nilamanih that this type of rati, the queens, basically this rati or this type of affection for Sri Krishna, in this type of affection, there is mixture of pleasure of Krishna and self-pleasure. But pleasure of Krishna is most prominent in this type of affection, this type of rati. Sri Rupa Goswami says samanjasa rati will reach maximum till the point of anurag. Question. Do queens of Dwarka experience Prema? Dhameshwar Mahaprabhu?
Yes.
Okay. In a general sense, as well as in a specific sense, till the point of anurag. Question. Do they experience the full extent of Prema?
No.
No. The answer is yes and no. Therefore, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur did not select samanjasa rati when he was describing all the developments of the term Prema. Finally, we come to Samartha rati, which is present in the gopis, etc. This rati will go all the way up till Mahabhava. And for Sri Radha, it will go up till the final limit, which is Madanakhya Mahabhava. Now, Dhameshwar Mahaprabhu, do gopis experience Prema?
Yes.
Yes, and in the fullest sense of the term. Therefore, when devotees in the previous talk were asking me, what about the queens of Dwarka? Do they not experience Prema? I said, no, they don't experience Prema. Because they don't experience the fullest sense of the term Prema. Prema is a term which is defined by Srila Rupa Goswami. The queens of Dwarka, they don't think of any possibility that their relationship with Sri Krishna will be broken because they are married to Sri Krishna. But in the case of the gopis, there is very little hope that Sri Krishna will come back from Dwarka. His relationship with the queens of Dwarka is already established. Therefore, dear devotees, even despite that, the mood of the gopis is let Sri Krishna remain happy. Samartha rati is exclusively for Sri Krishna's pleasure. And this type of rati is considered to be of the highest variety in the Ujjvala Nilamanih. So therefore, even in the Ujjvala Nilamanih, all the examples that Sri Rupa Goswami has given, 99% of the examples are of the gopis. Maybe one or two examples that he has given of Prema, Sneha, Mana, Pranay, Rag, Anurag. Maybe one or two he has given from the queens of Dwarka. But 99% of the examples have been given from the Vraja gopis. Therefore, when we say the Vraja gopis are the ones who truly experience Prema, we say that because they experience the fullest extent of Prema, which is Mahabhava. And Sri Radha experiences the greatest of that fullest extent of Prema, which is Madanakhya Mahabhava. The devotees. Tat Prema. That Prema, which is up till the level of Mahabhava, is granted by Sri Radha Kunda. That is the Prema which we are looking for. Dhameshwar Mahaprabhu, given a choice between Sadharani rati, samanjasa rati and Samartha rati, which rati would a sadhaka ideally aim for?
Samartha rati.
Samartha rati. Because obviously a jiva wants to also experience all the developments of Prema. There are some jivas who are satisfied with Sadharani rati. There are some who are satisfied with samanjasa rati. And all of them are glorious. Even Kubja, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur has specified in his commentary to the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Kubja is, her entire body is also made out of divine spiritual elements. Her body is not material. Because when Krishna enjoyed with Kubja, Krishna's own body is non-material. So how can Krishna enjoy with a lady who has a material body? So Kubja also does not have a material body. Kubja's body is also a fully spiritual body. So when Sadharani Rati is also a fully spiritual subject matter, what then to speak of Samanjasa Rati and Samartha Rati, dear devotees? There is absolutely no doubt that all of this is within the plane of the spiritual world and there is no trace of material elements in all these interactions. Even if Kubja wants her own happiness before Krishna's happiness, still it is a completely spiritual affair. There is no trace of material, material elements, or there is no trace of material enjoyment in her desire. So dear devotees, Kubja in her previous life was blessed by Narad Muni. She was the daughter of a king. She was blessed by Narad Muni that in your next life you will see Sri Krishna. And by that blessing, she became Kubja in her next life. But she had some desires from her previous life. Those desires were spiritualized. And they were spiritualized in such a way she attained Sadharani Rati. Her happiness first, Krishna's happiness secondary. That's okay. She is glorious because Krishna accepted her. And anybody whom Sri Krishna accepts, Krishna will never let them go away. Of course, when we were new devotees, when we came to the path of bhakti for the first time, we heard these things like you should have zero desire for yourself, absolutely no desires, no desire for your own happiness, only for Krishna's happiness. because you were taught by acharyas who themselves are firm supporters of Samartha Rati. Samartha Rati means they are themselves teaching that you should come to the platform of Samartha Rati. And when you are taught something which is the highest, even if you don't end up attaining the highest fruit from the tallest tree, maybe some devotees may end up with samanjasa rati, maybe some will end up with Sadharani rati, but they will all become glorious and they will all attain success. Dear devotees, this is the sum and substance of the subject matter. So it is not incorrect to have desires for self-happiness in the association of Sri Krishna. And none of those desires are material desires. But the acharyas want us to aim for the highest fruit from the tallest tree. And for this reason, the acharyas gave very absolutist statements sometimes that you should have no desire for your own happiness, only desires for Krishna's happiness. Later, when we become mature, we realize what is our nature. And the sadhus whom we associate with, they also help us in determining our nature. And whatever nature we attain, accordingly, Bhagavan will give us that specific relationship. So that is how we should understand the Siddhanta. Now, dear devotees, we have understood this. Only Sri Radha, her love, is capable of attaining Mahabhava. So I gave this. Sadharani goes till second stage. Samanjasa goes till stage 7. Samartha goes till stage 8. Sri Rupa Goswami confirms this. Adya premantimam tatra nuragantam samanjasa ratir bhavantimam simam samarthaiva prapadyate. The first type of rati, adya, premantimam, Sadharani rati attains the stage of prema, which is second stage. I showed you. Then, anuragantam samanjasa. Samanjasa rati attains the stage of anurag. And ratir bhavantimam simam samarthaiva prapadyate. Then samartha rati attains the end limits of Mahabhava. Here, Rupa Goswami has named it bhava, but I have always used the term Mahabhava because Mahabhava is also another name for the same term bhav. If I use the term bhav, devotees may get confused. Is it that bhav which is also called as rati? Therefore, Rupa Goswami has used another term for it, Mahabhav. So let's keep using that term Mahabhav. Finally, Samartha Rati goes with the end of Mahabhav. For Sri Radha, Madanakhya Mahabhava. For other gopis in the group of Sri Radha, Madanakhya Mahabhava. So this is what is the Siddhanta as given by Sri Rupa Goswami. So dear devotees, if a question is asked, does Kubja experience Prema? Rameshwar Mahaprabhu, what is the answer?
In a general sense, but not to the fullest extent.
Yes. Therefore, truly she does not experience Prema. As a Gaudiya Vaishnava, you can say, truly, in the final extent, she does not experience Prema. Do the queens of Dwarka experience Prema? Rameshwar Mahaprabhu.
Yes, and up to the extent of anuraga.
But they do not experience Mahabhav. So in the fullest sense of the term, they do not experience Prema. So this is what it is, dear devotees. Now, Sri Rupa Goswami confirms this. Iyam eva ratih praudha mahabhava dasham vrajet. Only the samartha variety of rati, praudha, when it becomes fully matured, mahabhava dasham vrajet, it goes to the stage of mahabhava. See, Srila Rupa Goswami sometimes is using the term bhava, sometimes he's using the term mahabhava. Let's not get confused. Let's use one term. Always I'm going to use mahabhava, so that our confusion will not remain. Because in the previous verse, I'll show you the previous verse. See here. Ratir bhavantimam. Here he had not used mahabhav. Here he has bhavantimam. But what he means is mahabhav. And in this verse, he has used the term mahabhav. So what he wants to say is mahabhav only. So please do not get confused. Dear devotees, only Samartha Rati is capable of reaching mahabhav. This is very clearly established by Srila Rupa Goswami. Now that we understand this, dear devotees, Sri Radha's Prema is of the Samartha variety. And in this Prema, there are many variations, many shades of Prema exist, dear devotees. Unlimited shades of Prema exist in Sri Radha. Prema is by nature very crooked. Its movement is crooked, Sri Rupa Goswami says. Gatihi premna svabhava kutila bhavet. Swabhava kutila. The ways of love, Gatihi premna, are crooked in nature. Swabhava kutila. Aheriva, exactly like the movement of a serpent. Dear devotee Sri Rupa Goswami, when he composed this verse in Ujjvala Nilamanih, so he is speaking about the love of Shri Radha and Krishna. And this love is completely transcendental, yet its movements are crooked in nature. Prema has never been a straightforward subject matter. Always there are some ups and downs in the relationship. And that is what makes the entire experience so sweet for everyone. In the material world, when this prema gets pervertedly reflected, there is a lot of unhappiness for the lovers involved, especially when there is separation. Shortly after Sri Rupa Goswami disappeared from this world, in this material world, there was a poet in the Western world named Shakespeare. Shakespeare said something, and he was almost a contemporary of Sri Rupa Goswami. And Shakespeare said something in one of his dramas. Prabhu, kindly read what Shakespeare says.
The course of true love never did run smooth.
Right. So he had no way of reading Sri Rupa Goswami because he was just a few years apart from Sri Rupa Goswami. But still, even those who are expert poets in the material world, they understand that love in the material world never runs a smooth course. And this is because it is a reflection of prema in the spiritual world. And prema, also in the spiritual world, its movements are crooked in nature, exactly like the movement of a serpent. And how is prema crooked? If prema is covered compared to a river, this river will have two embankments. One embankment is the embankment of union, and one embankment is the embankment of separation. Dear devotees, this river always moves in a crooked direction, like this, between union and separation. If the river keeps moving in a straight line, prema will not become tasteful. There are two most essential factors needed for a loving relationship. A romantic relationship needs two essential factors. What are the two essential factors? Union and separation. If there is too much union, the relationship will become tasteless. Dear devotees, therefore, separation needs to be added from time to time to make the relationship more tasteful. Today, we will see the various types of separations. We will start looking into the various types of separation that Sri Radha experiences, how her love is so superior. Dear devotees, we have to understand what is the love of Sri Radha. So, dear devotees, Sri Rupa Goswami confirms this principle. Sri Rupa Goswami says, Navina vipralambhena sambhogah pushtimashnude kashayite hi vastradav bhuyan rago vivardhate. Navina vipralambhena, without separation, sambhogah pushtimashnude, union does not attain nourishment. Then he gives an example. Kashayite hi vastradav bhuyan rago vivardhate. Ragah, the color on a cloth, vivardhate, it becomes very brilliant only when proper modern dyes are applied to it. What is the meaning of this analogy? The devotees previously, when they used to color a cloth, even today when they color a white cloth, if you directly put color on the cloth will get colored, no doubt. But as soon as you wash it, more than half of the color will be washed away. If you want to fix the color on the cloth, first you have to apply a very harsh chemical on the cloth, which is nowadays called as mordant dye. Traditionally, it is called kashai. So you have to apply kashai. Kashai is very harsh on the cloth. But if it is applied on the cloth, it helps fix the color. So first apply the mordant dye and then apply the color. In a similar way, first apply the harsh chemical of separation and then let the rag, the color of union, decorate the cloth of Prema, dear devotees. And you can see in the image, there are two cloths which are dyed. One cloth has attained a brilliant bluish color, almost indigo color, because the harsh chemical, mordant dye, was first applied to it, and then color was applied to it. And the second cloth has lost most of its color. Why? Because color was directly applied to it and then it was washed away. So, dear devotees, the lesson to be learnt is separation is extremely important for union to become tasty. And therefore, even in the relationship of Sri Radha Krishna, separation or vipralambha is most essential. Now, dear devotees, we are focusing today exclusively on separation, vipralambha. Why? Because this is going to add flavor to the relationship. Sri Rupa Goswami says vipralambha or separation is of 4 types. In the Ujjvala Nilamanih, he first takes up the discussion on separation. Why? Because separation is most important. The first component needed for union to become flavorable. Sri Rupa Goswami says, Urvaragastathamanah prema vaichityamidyapi pravasascheti kathito vipralambhas chaturvidha. Chaturvidha. 4 types of separation are there. What are the 4 types? Purvaragah, purvarag, tathamanah, man, prema vaichityam, prema vaichitya, ityapi, pravasah, and pravas. Kathito. These are known as vipralambha chaturvidha, 4 types of separation. Dear devotees, now we know the technical names. Now we will also understand one by one what are the types of separation. Today we will cover the first 2. And in the next session, we will continue with the remaining 2. Then we will also see the union and what are the types of union that Sri Rupa Goswami has specified. I will not go into much detail into union because the descriptions there are of a slightly more esoteric nature. Therefore, I will spend most of my time discussing vipralambha or separation because this is extremely needed for enhancing union. Dear devotees, the first type of vipralambha separation is known as purvarag. What is purvarag? Dear devotees, in this material world, before a lover and his beloved, before they meet each other, they have seen each other from a distance, and then there is budding love which sprouts in their hearts. They become attracted to each other, what we call love at first sight. Often in this world, love at first sight means we have fallen in love with a person about whom we know very little. Very little. That is why we call it love at first sight. We know very little about that person. Still, just by looking at that person, just by hearing about that person, we fall in love with that person. In the material world, often when girls and boys are growing up, usually when they attain adolescence, at that point of time, the first attraction between girls and boys takes place in the age of adolescence. In the material world also, it is known as purvarag. but the original Purva Rag is there in the spiritual world, dear devotees. Shri Rukmini, she also heard about Sri Krishna, and in her heart there was Purva Rag for Sri Krishna. Similarly, Sri Radha also saw Sri Krishna from a distance, but she could not meet him directly and speak to him. Why? Because society is a hindrance in such a meeting, because there are norms of society which prevent such a meeting. And therefore, Purva Rag is technically a stage of separation, because union meeting has not yet happened. So Purva Rag is the first stage of separation. Sri Rupa Goswami defines. Ratirya sangamat purvam darshana shravanadija tayorunmilati pragyai purva ragah sa uchyate. Rati, when attachment produced in the lover and beloved before their meeting by seeing, hearing and so on becomes very palatable by the mixture of four ingredients, vibhav, anubhav, etc. It is called purva. Short and sweet, the lover and beloved have not, met each other formally and not talked to each other in detail. They don't know much about each other. They just know from a distance, I'm attracted to this person. But due to social pressure, they are not able to meet each other. This, dear devotees, is Purva Rag. Now, this is the first type of separation, Vipralamba. Sri Rupa Goswami gives an example of Purva Rag in Sri Radha. This verse is in the meter Harini. Tvatu tvamudavasitam nishkramanti puna pravishantyasam jhatiti ghatikam madhye varanchatam vrajasi mane aganita guru trasa shwasan vimuchya kim क्षिपसि बहुशो निपारण्ये किशोरी दृशोर्द्वयम्. So Sri Lalita Sakhi, she is seeing Sri Radha and symptoms of Purva Rag are clearly manifest in her. Sri Lalita says to Sri Radha, Tvam udavasitan nishkramanti. Kishori, O Radha, Punah pravishantyasau jhatiti ghatika madhye. It appears that in a single ghatika is a unit of time used previously. Nowadays, it means 24 minutes. So in approximately half an hour, what do? Nishkramanti punah pravishantyasau. Varanchatam. You exit your home anxiously, go to the border of Vraja and return back. 100 times, it seems. 100 it's an exaggeration here. He is saying in an exaggerated way. Hundreds of times you are going out of your home, going to the border of Vraja and returning back. Why are you doing this? Dear devotees, the reason why she is doing this is because she wants to catch a glimpse of Sri Krishna as he is returning back from his cow herding pastimes. That is why she is going there. Aganita Guru Transa Shwansan. Moreover, you don't care for the chastisement of Guru, elderly family members. Vimuchya Kim. Shwasan Vimuchya, and you constantly heave sighs of distress as you look with your two eyes towards the forest of the Kadamba trees. Oh Sri Radha, what has happened to you? This, dear devotees, is Purva Rag of Sri Radha. So in this way, this is the first stage of separation that Sri Radha is experiencing. And all of this gives a lot of pleasure to Sri Krishna. Please don't think that this news will not reach Sri Krishna. It will definitely reach Sri Krishna. That Sri Radha was anxiously going to the borders of Vraja trying to see him. Sri Krishna feels validated that I am loved. Sri Krishna feels validated. Why does Sri Krishna love Sri Radha so much? Because in Sri Radha, he finds the highest degree of acceptance and validation. That is why Bhagavan Sri Krishna always hankers for the love of Sri Radha. There is no other gopi who so clearly demonstrated to Sri Krishna that I love you very much. Other gopis may have their reservations, but Sri Radha, without any reservations, demonstrated her love towards him. Therefore, Sri Krishna, Krishnasya uchchaihi pranaya vasati. She is the highest reservoir of love of Sri Krishna. Whether it is love in separation or love in union, your devotees. This is Purvarag. Gradually, Sri Krishna and Sri Radha meet for the first time. After they meet for the first time, they start meeting regularly. Then, suddenly, the arrangement of Yoga Maya is such that the second stage of separation is introduced. This stage is called as man or sulkiness. In a relationship, often there is sulkiness because of some reason. Sri Rupa Goswami defines what is man. Dampatyor bhava ekatra satorapyanuraktayo swabhishtashlesha vikshadi nirodhi man uchyate. Whether the lover and the beloved are in the same place or in different places, the mood of man, sulkiness, that obstructs their looking at each other, embracing each other, although they're attached to each other, this sulkiness is known as man, dear devotees. So they are together in the same place, or they may be at different places, but one of them has become sulky. Sometimes Sri Krishna becomes sulky, sometimes Sri Radha becomes sulky. Mainly, mana is in Sri Radha. Therefore, she is known as Manini Radha. Manini Radha means she is the one who takes the role of sulkiness. And why does she do so? For the pleasure of Sri Krishna. Sri Krishna wants to have a lover who will become irritated with him, who will become sulky with him, and in this way give him a lot of pleasure. Because otherwise, outside Vrindavan, when he is Bhagavan, dear devotees, in Vaikuntha, nobody will curse him out of man. But in Vrindavan, Sri Radha will happily curse him out of man. So this is the pleasure that Bhagavan is looking for. The pleasure of being verbally chastised by his beloved Sri Radha, dear devotees. Not only verbally chastised, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur says, sometimes Sri Radha also physically chastises Sri Krishna. But because the descriptions are very esoteric, therefore I will not get into that here. So Sri Krishna always expects all sorts of chastisement from Sri Radha. And therefore Sri Radha also takes the role of man. In the examples that Sri Rupa Goswami has given, Sri Rupa Goswami gives example of man in Chandravali. But the example is such that it ends up glorifying Sri Radha. A very sweet example that Sri Rupa Goswami gives. This verse is in the meter Shikharini, same as Jagannath Ashtakam. Shapetubhyam radhe tvamasi hridaye tvam mama bahe tvamagre tvam brushthe tvamiha bhavane tvam girivane ide swapne jalpam nishi nishamayanti madhuripam Abutalpe Chandravali Ratha Paraval Titamukhi. The meter is Shikharini. This is the meter. Here it is. Sri Krishna is sleeping. Does Bhagavan have dreams? Yes, he has dreams. Outside Vrindavan in Vaikuntha, he is Animisha, whose eyes never blink. Who always has his eyes semi-opened. Inside Vrindavan, with his eyes fully closed, he sleeps, and not only does he sleep, he also dreams. Bhagavan has dreams. In one particular dream, Bhagavan is saying, Shape tubhyam Radhe, I promise you. Radhe, I promise you. Tvamasi hridaye, you alone are in my heart. Tvam mama bahis, you are outside me. Tvamagre, you are in front of me. Tvam prishthe, you are behind me. Tvamiha bhavane, you are in my abode wherever I stay. Tvam girivane, you are in the hills and forests where I wander around. Iti swapne jalpam nishi nishamayanti madhuripur. Sri Krishna was blabbering this in his sleep, and somebody heard this. Who heard this? The Sakhi who was sleeping next to him. Abhutalpe Chandravali. He was sleeping on the talpa, on the bed of Chandravali, and she heard this. And as soon as she heard this, Paravartitamukhi, she became angry and turned her face away from Sri Krishna. Dear devotees, this is an example of Man in Chandravali. This is the translation. Oh, Radhe, I promise you, only you are in my heart. You are outside me. You are in front of me and behind me. You appear in my home and you appear everywhere in the hills and forests. As Chandravali was hearing this dream blabbering of Madhusudan, who was lying on her bed, she became angry and turned away her face. This devotees is Chandravali's man. This is Sahaituk man. Man with a cause. There was a cause for this man. What is the cause? Sri Krishna's blabbering about Sri Radha in his dreams. This is the cause of this man. Sri Radha's man is even more special. Ahaituk. There is no reason for her to become sulky. So Sri Rupa Goswami defines Sri Radha's man as Ahaituk man, without any reason. And is a very sweet verse that Sri Rupa Goswami gives. This verse is in the meter Malini. Ahamiha vichinoni twadgiraiva prasunam kathaya kathamakande Chandivacham yamasi viditam upadhinalam radhike shadhikena priyasaki kusumena shrotramutsam uttam sayami. One day, Sri Radha became angry on Sri Krishna and Sri Krishna said, I will do whatever you say. So he was following all the orders of Sri Radha. And then she became a little pleased. And then she ordered him, okay, now you go to the forest at this place and bring some flowers for me. Sri Krishna with folded hands said, yes, I will do that. Then he went to the forest. And then he plucked flowers for her. And when he came back, she was again angry. Now Sri Krishna is not able to understand what happened now. This eternal perplexity that she puts Bhagwan in is what makes Bhagwan very happy. Then Sri Krishna said, Ahamiha vichinomi. Here I am collecting flowers, Tvadgiraiva, by your order. Prasunam, by your order I went to collect flowers. Kathaya kathama kande, Chandi vacham, oh Chandi. Dameshwar Mahaprabhu, have you heard of the term Chandi?
Is it related to the moon?
Chandi. Chandi is the fierce goddess, Bhadrakali. She's known as Chandi. So Krishna calls her Chandi. Kathama kande, oh Chandi. Why is it that Akande for no reason, Vacham Yamasi, now you are keeping quiet and looking at me again in an angry mood. Then after some time, Krishna thinks, oh, Viditam Upadhinalam. Now I understood, rather. No need to say anything. Alam. No need to say anything. Now I understood. Radhike Shadhike, no, now tell me, Priya Sakhi Kusume, no, which flower I should use, Shrotramuttam Sayami, to decorate your ears. So she was angry on him because she expected him to not only bring the flowers but also decorate her head and her ears. But he simply bought the flowers and then he is waiting there. And then she's again angry. So for Krishna, this is Ahaituk man. He doesn't know the reason why she's angry. So this dear devotees is Sri Radha's man. And then Krishna understood, oh, now please tell me which flower I should put in which, which part of your ear. How should I decorate your ears? You don't even know how to decorate properly. So what good are you for? Huh? So this is Sri Radha's man. People unnecessarily glorifying you as very expert without the Madhav. What expertise? You don't even know how to decorate properly. This is the man of Sri Radha. No, Radhe, by your order, I had gone to collect flowers. Oh, Chandike, fierce one. What happened now? Why are you angry again? Why are you sulky for no reason? And after some time, he says, I understand now, Radhike. My dear Sakhi, please tell me which flower I should use to decorate your ears. This is man in Sri Radha. In this way, dear devotees, there is such unlimited variety in the pastimes of Sri Radha Krishna that we cannot imagine. These are just a few examples out of the many, many thousands of examples that have been given by the acharyas for the various moods of prema that Sri Radha has. Dear devotees, this prema of Sri Radha is so special that it is not present with any other gopi. And the prema that Sri Radha and her group of gopis have, that prema is offered by Sri Radha Kunda for anybody who takes a single bath in it with one's divine spiritual body. Therefore, this pair of Sri Radha Krishna are most glorious. Sri Jiva Goswami says, I have quoted this verse before, but I am quoting it here again. Same meter Malini. Yadamita rasa shastre vyanjivaidagdhya vrindam tadanumapina vetum kalpate kamiloka tadakhilam api yasya prema sindhau na kinchin mitunamachita gopi rupame tadvibhati. Yad amita rasa shastre vyanjivaidagdhya vrindam. In the limitless expanse of rasa literature, material romantic literature, an enormous variety of romantic expertise has been expressed by the great poets. Great poets like Shakespeare, great poets of India, of all the entire world, in their romantic literature, they have displayed great expertise. Jiva Goswami agrees. But the typical lusty person cannot even grasp a tiny atom of that vast expertise. You see all the plays of Shakespeare and the varieties of love that are there in it. The ordinary lusty person can't get to experience even a fraction of what Shakespeare has described in his love novels. Then, what to speak of? Tadakhilamapi yasya prema sindhau na kinchin. All that romantic expertise of material rasa literature becomes absolutely insignificant in comparison to the ocean of prema of a particular divine couple. Which divine couple? Ajita Gopi Rupam. That couple having the eternal form of Radha Krishna. Rupam etad vibhati appears most splendid in the entire creation. Dear devotees, the prema of Sri Radha Krishna is the most splendid because that prema is like an ocean with unlimited waves. With unlimited waves. Dear devotees, there is no comparing the love of Sri Radha to any other prema. And we will continue our exploration of the prema of Sri Radha, the stages of separation, in our next session on Śrī-Upadeśāmṛtam. Dear devotees, thank you very much. Yadatra skhalitam kinchit vidvamsah purayantu tat. Yadatra saushthavam kinchit tad guroreva menahi. Yadatra skhalitam kinchit. It is possible I might have made a mistake while speaking. Vidvamsah, all of you are learned devotees, purayantu tat. Please correct that mistake. But yadatra saushthavam kinchit. If there's anything nice, please remember tad guroreva. It belongs to my Guru Janas. Menahi. It doesn't belong to me. Thank you very much, dear devotees. Jagadguru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srila Rupa Goswami Prabhupada ki jai. Srila Jiva Goswami Prabhupada ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji, for a wonderful class. There is a technical, intellectual aspect to this whole topic, but there's also just a sweetness and a feel to the whole thing. And it's really wonderful how you're giving us both. I've heard these phrases for many years, such as the 5 stages of Raganuga Bhakti or, Pranaya, Anurag, but I never actually got a systematic understanding of where they fit and how the whole thing works. So it's so nice to have it finally all fit together in these wonderful classes. I'm so grateful and just so nourished by these classes. Thank you very, very much, Prabhuji.
Thank you.
We're gonna go now to questions and answers, and I'll say my spiel that I share each week. First of all, if you want to join our WhatsApp group thread, it's not too late. Just send an email to Upadeshamritam@gmail.com as you see it on the screen, and include your WhatsApp number, and we will add you. For questions, please ask questions related to today's class. If it's going to require some research, it might be better ask in the WhatsApp group compared to live. We want to keep our questions non-political, non-loaded in nature, and just speak in philosophical terms, not bring up particular people or institutions. And make sure to give other people a chance to ask their questions by, if you have many questions, breaking it up into pieces, coming back around the line. So anything else, Prabhuji?
No, Prabhupada, I mean, yeah, and yeah, in general, the main thing is please don't try to ask loaded questions, and please don't, no specific institutions or individuals. That is what will keep all of us out of trouble. And if there is a very specific reference to very specific, I read this in this commentary long ago, and then I have to find what you read, then that is not good. If there is a reference which you want to quote in a question, then you should bring that reference. The person who's asking the question should bring the reference up. Because if I have to look up that reference, then it will take time of all the viewers who are listening to the talk. So better such questions are asked in the group. That's all. Thank you. Let's begin.
First, we have Jai Dwarka Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam Prabhuji. Thank you so much for explaining in such a nice way. Especially, I would say that your presentations actually you very clearly and very technically explain the concepts very easily, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, I had a question on this point where you explained that separation is necessary for nourishment of this sambhoga. Prabhuji, when you also compared this to the love in this material world also. So my question in this case was just because in this material world, everything good decays. So that's why separation is needed to nourish it. But spiritual world is of completely opposite nature. There nothing good decays. Rather, no bad thing can enter into the spiritual world. So how can we understand that?
In the spiritual world, nothing decays. The quality of the relationship that the gopis have with Sri Krishna or the queens of Dwarka have with Sri Krishna, it never decays. But various factors appear and disappear. I hope you're able to understand. Various moods appear and disappear. So, in order to make those moods appear again, and in order for those moods to make those moods feel like fresh, new, therefore, a change of moods is needed. Therefore, separation is introduced, then union is introduced, then separation is introduced, then newness. So variety is what keeps the appearance and disappearance of moods going. That is the only reason why. Does that clarify?
Yes, to some extent. And Prabhuji, can we also say like that?
I'll just let me, in the material, what happens is after 20 years of a relationship, you see a couple when they are newly married and see their interactions with each other. And 20 years later, my goodness, then somehow all the love has, most of the love has disappeared, or the initial attraction has disappeared into thin air. And it's only a very few mature couples who have weathered all the storms with bruises on their relationship, they are still continuing. So that is the love of the material world. But the spiritual world, this is not the case. Because even if millions of reasons are there for Prema to be destroyed, not even a single scratch will come upon that Prema of Sri Radha. It will always remain Nitya Nutan, always ever fresh. So, and as Sri Krishna may leave to Dwarka for some time, but as soon as his news of coming back comes, the Prema again becomes as renewed as if, she's experiencing it for the first time. This is how Yoga Maya arranges it. So I hope that clarifies to some extent.
Yes, Prabhuji. Yes. Thank you.
Next we have Nila Chala Chandrika Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna, Dandut Pranam, Prabhuji. Wonderful, wonderful class. Amazing. My question is, you explained that the gopis have Madanakhya and Srimati Radharani has Madanakhya. So, can you just explain this, elaborate a little bit more on this?
I want to keep something for the future sessions. Therefore, I am not putting it. Madanakhya is specifically related to union, and I have not come to the union part. Because if I would like to give about something about Madanakhya, I'd like to give with detailed examples, and I'd like to explain what is the meaning of the term Madan, what is the meaning of the term Modan. All those things I'd like to explain. Without explaining this, question was asked previously also in the previous class. I think Tanvi Mataji asked this. What is Madanakhya? What is Modanakhya? Unless I explain the term Madan and Modan, what is the meaning of Madan and Modan? Many individuals do not even know what is the meaning of Madan and Modan. What is the difference between them? So Madan is from a different dhatu, Modan is from a different dhatu. Modan is from the verbal root mud. Madan is from the verbal root mad. So there are two different verbal roots from which the terms are formed. So the formation of the terms itself is different. The implication is different. And what is the meaning of all of those terms, it is different. And the characteristics that are experienced by Sri Radha and the gopis, they are different. So to answer that question, it needs a set of slides, which I am not yet prepared, which I have to prepare for a future talk. So I will come to it. But for the time being, we should know Madanakhya is experienced only by Sri Radha. Modan is experienced only in the group of Sri Radha. That is what for the time being we can know. And when I'm sure you'll continue listening to the future sessions. Definitely I'll come to the point when in the union section, we will discuss what is Madan and what is Modan. So I hope that for the time being that satisfies the query.
Yes, Prabhuji, always looking forward for such things.
Thank you.
Wonderful classes, wonderful.
Thank you.
Cliffhanger. Next we have Madhav Tripati Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandut Pranam Prabhuji. Thank you so much for this wonderful class and these wonderful sessions. Prabhuji, I had this query about if a devotee, they happen to develop this Sadharani or samanjasa rati, so will they necessarily go to the other realms like Dwarka and Mathura, or is it possible for them to attain Vraja, even like the Aishwaryamay Vraja?
Even see in Vraja, the specific type of rati that is described is Samartha rati. On occasions, there are few occasions in which some traces of samanjasa may come up, but they are very fleeting traces. In general, in Vraja, there is Samartha rati because there is no question of marriage. In Vraja, it is Parakiya. So therefore, the type of rati is Samartha rati. When married relationship is there, there is samanjasa rati. But a married relationship is not there in Vraja. It is not Swakiya, Parakiya. Therefore, when samanjasa will be there where Swakiya relationship is there. And where is Swakiya relationship present? In which realms is Swakiya relationship predominantly present?
Dwarka.
That is where. So that is the answer to your question.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Next we have Omkar Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Dandut Pranam. Thank you for the lecture, Prabhuji. So you clarified that point. I got it very well. Prabhu, my question was regarding this point where you explained that Madanakhya Mahabhava is only experienced by Radharani. Not going into the details, but as we know that there are ideas that the Manjari experiences what Sri Radha experiences. So is it that the Manjaris experience the exactly same amount of happiness what Radharani experiences? Or sometimes, as we know, like, I don't know whether it's in a glorification, but I think there are some Vaishnava songs where it is explained that Manjaris experience the happiness what Radharani experiences 10 million times more, etc. Something like that. So
The
could
question
you
is,
please
the
clarify this
simple
one?
thing is, if there is any experience which is equivalent or higher than Sri Radha, will it not be mentioned by Sri Rupa Goswami in his Ujjvala Nilamanih?
Obviously.
But if does he mention such a thing?
No.
No.
That's the limit.
So it is safest to keep ourselves within the ambit of Srila Rupa Goswami's teachings, because in Manjaris there may be many Jiva Tattvas. A simple question arises: can a entity who is Jiva Tattva by its fundamental constitution experience something which is equivalent or higher than Sri Radha?
Higher would be really difficult.
Even equivalent, the extent to which Sri Radha experiences, because she is Shakti-tattva, she is not Jiva Tattva, she is Shakti-tattva.
Ideally not.
So therefore,
Yes, ideally we should not.
yeah. So therefore, there may be some glorifications which may be there, but Siddhantically, such a proposition is not mentioned by Sri Rupa Goswami. That is the answer to your query.
Okay, bro. Thank you. Done.
I have a question, Prabhuji.
Yeah.
It seems like there's a contradiction in pursuing Samartha rati, because a devotee pursues that out of a desire to experience the full extent of Prema, a desire to experience spiritual bliss to the fullest extent possible. At the same time, by nature, it's without any desire for personal interest. So how do we reconcile that?
Yeah. So the Jiva's desire is to become fully dedicated to Bhagwan Sri Krishna's pleasure, and the Jiva knows at the back of the mind, by ensuring Krishna's pleasure, self-pleasure in the spiritual world is automatically ensured. It is not that self-pleasure will not be there at all for those who are pursuing Samartha rati. Those who are experts, they know that the pleasure experienced by the Vraja Gopis and by Sri Radha is certainly enviable even by the queens of Dwarka. There is a verse in the Ujjvala Nilamanih where Sri Krishna, Sri Rukmini Devi, she once embraced Sri Krishna in Dwarka. And when she was embracing Sri Krishna in Dwarka, Sri Krishna suddenly remembered the embrace of Sri Radha in Vrindavan and fainted in the arms of Srimati Rukmini Devi. So this is an example of how pleasurable it is to Sri Radha and the gopis. That pleasure will definitely be there. But the basis of that pleasure is selflessness. So there are certain jivas who aim for attaining that mood of selflessness in the service of Bhagwan Sri Krishna. And they know that by such selflessness, whatever happiness comes out of its own accord, we will be happy with it. That is the mood of a devotee who wishes to pursue Samartha rati. So self-happiness is not a part of the contract. I'm sorry for using such a term, but it's not part of the contract. But it is a natural side effect of pursuing Samartha rati. It comes as a part of, what do you call, the remuneration of the contract. That is what it is. So these are corporate terms. But in samanjasa rati, self-pleasure is a part of the contract. In Sadharani rati, self-pleasure is a part, the most essential part of the contract. But in Samartha Rati, the devotee is willing to give up that, because the devotee knows that self-pleasure is automatically a side effect of. So the devotee has realized till that point. See, in the material world also, I'll tell you, I've seen in various relationships in the material world, between husbands and wives, there are some wives who are exclusively dedicated to their own pleasure. The relationship is there because the wife, or in some cases the husband, as long as their pleasure is attained, as long as their selfish motives are attained, the relationship will stay. The other person, poor person, has to tolerate in such a relationship. And there are some relationships in which the husband and wife get into the relationship because we will, mutually we will, support each other's happiness. You support my happiness, I'll support your happiness. And I will take special care to support your happiness. So this can be compared to, samanjasa. And then there are some relationships wherein the person is so much in love with the other person that all they want is for the other person to become happy. All they want is for the other person to become happy. This type of a love in the material world can be roughly compared, cannot be exactly compared, but can be roughly compared to the type of rati that the Vraja Gopis have in the spiritual world. So I hope that clarifies. So that their happiness is derived by seeing the other person happy. So this is what is the love of the Gopis.
Thank you. I'll have to come back on that one. Next we have Jai Dwarka.
Yes, Prabhuji, actually, I had the question from the WhatsApp group only, which I posted there. Prabhuji, as you explained that the devotee takes bathe in Radha Kunda in Siddha Deha. So, can you please help us understand that what does that exactly mean? Does the devotee, after after attaining perfection in the sadhana deha, only takes the bath with the conception of Siddha Deha, or is it just Mansi bath, or is it something else? So, can you please explain
I
what
had
is that?
explained in the previous talk that there are various stages, dashas, through which a sadhak goes. So you remember what are the dashas, Jai Dwarka Prabhu? What is the first dasha?
Yes. Yes, Prabhu. Shravan Dasha,
Okay. Then what is the second dasha?
then Varana Dasha, then
Okay.
Smarana Dasha.
Okay. In Smaran dasha, what are the 5 sub-stages?
It
Smaran,
was
Dharana, Dhyan,
Smaran,
Dhruvanusmriti,
Dharan,
and
then
finally, what is the
Samadhi,
final stage? Samadhi. And Samadhi is
Sampatti
perfection.
Dasha.
Sampatti dasha. Sampatti dasha is when the spiritual identity is revealed. Okay. Now you are such and such entity in the spiritual world. Let's say this is the identity of a Manjari or of a Gopi in the group of Sri Radha. So formal initiation in the group of Sri Radha is by taking bath in Sri Radha Kunda. I hope you're able to understand.
Yes, Prabhu. But that is the point that how does that bath takes place? Is the devotee taking in spiritual body only, and there is no material activity which is taking place?
No material
Means
activity.
sadhana deha is as it is.
The sadhak
Okay.
deha in the Siddha deha, the devotee, because who will be allowed in Sri Radha Kunda? Please tell me. In that spiritual world, in Sri Radha Kunda, who will be allowed to take a bath?
In Siddha deha only.
Who will be allowed? Anybody?
The devotee who has perfected.
Any perfected devotee?
No, the one who has attained his identity in Golok.
Any identity in
Vraj.
Golok?
This in Samartha Rati.
Wonderful. And any identity in Samartha or only that type of Samartha which is Radha Anuga, which is subservient to the mood of
Yes.
Sri Radha. I hope you're able to understand. So only that
Yes,
person
Prabhu.
will, why will Sri Radha allow anybody else in her kunda? Simple question.
So the bath which is being referred to here is the bath in spiritual world and not the bath of this Prakat Bhauma Vrindavan Dham. This Radha Kunda.
Radha Kunda is capable of giving it to you even if you take bath in Bhauma Vrindavan. But the actual intention of the verse is taking bath in your Siddha Deha. That is what it is. Because otherwise otherwise I will, if I say that it does not mean taking bath through physical body, then I will cast a doubt on Sri Radha Kunda's efficacy, which I don't want to do. Sri Radha Kund can give it even if you take bath through the sadhak deha. But in general, the verse is indicating that you have to take baths through the siddha deha. That is the answer to your query.
Okay, yes. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Next we have Madhav Tripati Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Prabhuji, I had a second query regarding this, the answer which you gave to Onkar Prabhu's query. So therein you said that a jiva cannot experience more bliss than Shakti-tattva. So how do the jivas who have attained Goloka experience more bliss than, let's say, someone a Shakti-tattva who is in the lower realms? Because after all, they are also Shakti-tattvas, like Rukmini, etc. So how is that possible, Prabhuji?
Because different Shakti-tattvas may limit their capability of, because in different Shakti, there is taratamya, there is hierarchy. Just because somebody is a Jiva Tattva doesn't mean that, it cannot experience more pleasure than Shakti Tattva. The Jiva Tattva, there is also Shakti Tattva, material energy is also Shakti Tattva. But the Jivas in the spiritual world experience greater pleasure than Shakti Tattva here in the material world. Oh, it's an obvious fact. That doesn't mean that the Jivas have become superior. Shakti Tattva always remains superior. But the capability of experiencing pleasure of some Jivas is greater even than the capability of experiencing pleasure of Shakti Tattvas. But when we are speaking of Sri Radha, we are speaking about the personification of Ladini, the personification of bliss. Now, to say that some Jiva experiences equivalent or higher amount of pleasure than the personification of pleasure, isn't that a self-contradictory statement? Therefore, I am saying, I am not comparing it to any other Shakti's pleasure. The question was specifically in comparison to Sri Radha's pleasure. But Sri Radha is Ladini Swarupini. She is the personification of the pleasure potency of Bhagavan. Now, if you say some Jiva experiences greater pleasure than Ladini Swarupini Sri Radha, then you will have to make a separate category. Which extra pleasure does that Jiva experience which even Sri Radha did not experience? Then you have to make technical terms for that. And I'm sorry, there is no such thing in existence. The highest pleasure and all the varieties of pleasure, Madanakhya Mahabhava, is experienced in union by Sri Radha. And that cannot be experienced by any other Jiva. It's a simple Siddhantic fact. No Jiva can experience Madanakhya Mahabhava that Sri Radha experienced. She is personification of pleasure potency. How we will end up contradicting ourselves if we say that some Jiva experiences more than her. That is the answer to the query.
So that's like saying that we experience more pleasure than pleasure itself.
Yeah. But we can experience more pleasure than certain other aspects of Shakti Tattva, which may be in Vaikuntha or in the material world. That is okay.
Next we have Anant Vijay Prabhu.
Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. Prabhuji, I understood in today's class that there are 4 types of Vipralamba. And out of these 4 types, first 2 types we have covered today.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. And then after covering Man, you mentioned, Prabhuji, the point that Sri Radha and Krishna are most glorious. So their relationship is most glorious. So is it this point is under the Man Vipralamba?
No. For all types,
Just
all
separate
flavors,
point.
all flavors of relationship, Sri Radha and Krishna's love is most glorious. The ordinary lusty person of this world, usually lusty people, they cannot even attain a small fraction of all the variety of rasa that is described in the material world. Forget about spiritual world. And all the rasa that is described in the material world becomes absolutely insignificant in front of the rasa of the spiritual world, especially in front of the relationship of Sri Radha Krishna. Therefore, most glorious is their relationship. That is the sum and substance of the final verse.
It is separate point, not in relationship with.
It's not a relationship with man. It's a separate, it was a concluding point for today's session, which I wanted to make, that their relationship, the relationship that Sri Radha has with Sri Krishna in Madhurya Ras is most glorious.
Thank you very much.
Next we have Jai Gauranga Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandat Pranam. Thank you for wonderful class. Prabhuji, you mentioned there are 3 types of rati. So is this related only to the conjugal rasa? Like what about the other rasa like Vatsalya and Sakya and Dasya rasa? They are also in Samartha rati, or like which?
This is a categorization only of Madhura Rati, right? Other Ratis, Dasya Rati has its separate categorization. The categorization of Dasya Rati is different. The categorization of Sakya Rati is different. The categorization of Vatsalya Rati is different. In Dasya, there is one categorization called as Palya. Palya means those devotees who think of themselves as being sheltered by Krishna. For example, Krishna's sons in Dwarka. They are in which rasa? If a question is asked, what is the rasa that Krishna's sons in Dwarka experience? So the answer is Dasya Ras, but of which type? So Palya Dasya Rati. So Dasya Ras in which one thinks of oneself as a relative maintained by Sri Krishna. So that is called as Palya Dasya Rati. So those categorizations are different. These Sadharani, Samanjasa, Samartha are categorizations of Madhura Rati only. So I hope that clarifies.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you.
Next we have Omkar Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Prabhuji, in the Jiva Goswami's verse, you actually mentioned, you have a couple of times mentioned it before also, the point where the poets in the material world experience more happiness, and describing the material poetry which is related to romance, etc., than the lusty people. So my question was regarding this basically poetics section in the material world. Uh, how does a person like a material poet, what is the way when he hears such poetry? Because my consideration was like they both are nearly the same, but what is the exact difference between both of them?
Poet, the verse is first and foremost, the verse is saying that all the expertise that has been described by the Rasika poets in the material world, a lusty person cannot experience or cannot understand even one tiny fraction of it. Let's take an expert poet in the material world. Let's take a good manual on poetics, such as Kavya Prakash of Acharya Mammat, Kashmiri Acharya Mammat. His book is standard. So such a big gold standard in poetics and rasa. Kavya Prakashasya Tika Grihe Grihe. It is said in his time there was a commentary being written in every home on Kavya Prakash. Such was the popularity of Kavya Prakash. It is mentioned even in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Kavya Prakash. The question is, all the varieties of rasa that was described in Kavya Prakash, is there any one person who can experience all those varieties of lusty happiness?
No, never.
No, never. In fact, if you see in the real world, all the nayikas, all the ladies who have been described in poetic literatures, many of them are very selfless. All the nayakas, the heroes who are described in the poetic literature are often, Dheer, Prashant, and, they are very sober-minded. And do you find such nayikas and nayaks, such heroines and heroes in the material world today?
No.
You cannot find. Cannot find. There are many, many examples of heroes and heroines. in described in these romantic literatures, even in the Western world, like there is Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet. How many people will be able to experience the emotions that are described in that literature? How many
They
have
can
you?
only fantasize about it.
They fantasize about.
No.
You cannot experience. And nowadays, and there are many, the hero and the heroine, they get married to each other, and they, like, Harish Chandra and his wife and his son, those types of heroes are not to be found. Most people nowadays don't want a marriage, they want a wedding. You understand what is the difference between? They don't want a marriage, they want a wedding. They want all the ceremonies nicely, they want to click photographs, and they want everything. But marriage is not simply the wedding.
Yes.
The wedding is the beginning of the marriage. So most people nowadays want a wedding, a destination wedding. They may not exactly want a marriage, yet they get into a relationship and spoil each other's lives. How can a lusty person experience all the emotions of love that are described in the romantic literature? Simply not possible. Simply not possible. One of the greatest problems that has been created in modern world, and if you ask all the thinkers, they will tell you the biggest problem that has been created in the modern world is due to the philosophy of romanticism. What is the philosophy of romanticism? That there exists one true soulmate for you, one true love. All you have to do is find that one true love, and then you will live happily ever after, as it is described in the romantic literature. And when you go out actually to find your one true love, the reality dawns upon you after some time that this world is not a place to find one true love. It's simply not possible. Simply not possible. The Shastra also says, what does Shastra say? Griharambho hi dukkhaya. What does it say? I will share my screen with you. 11.9.15. Griharambho hi dukkhaya. Omkar, what is the meaning of this phrase?
Griha ke आरंभ में ही दुख.
To get married is simply for the purpose of suffering.
Dukkhaya. Chaturthi. Yes.
So, griha, home, arambha, here it means it is a construction, but beginning. So beginning a household life is certainly leading to unhappiness. Viphala, fruitless. Adhruva, impermanent. So what is the, how can you experience the various subtle flavors of love in such a, and therefore some people say, no, we don't want to get married. We want to experience all the flavors of love without getting married in the material world. Chalo. Then what happens? Then the biological clock is ticking against you. You're not getting any younger, and then the girl is not getting any younger, and then there are societal and family pressures. What are you doing with your life? And then one fine day, it all breaks apart. That's how it ends up. So that is the condition of people in the world. That is the condition that we have to understand. A mature person will understand all these dealings of Sri Radha Krishna. Not even a tiny fragment can be found in the material world. Forget about that. All the expertise of Rasa Shastra in the material world also cannot be found in practical examples in the material world. It only exists in Sri Krishna. That ideal exists only in Sri Krishna, nowhere else.
Yes, true. Only small point I just wanted to ask about. Like it is explained that the poets, when they describe this poetry, they experience more happiness. Like I have seen, like heard some poetry about it, or from some acharyas. Like they explain that generally the poets they experience a little more happiness than what these people experience.
Yeah.
And describing the poetry or etc. related to it. So my question was related to that part.
So what is the question?
He answered the question.
My
The verse is saying that it's not that the poets in the material world like Shakespeare enjoy greater pleasure, but that lusty people in this world can't possibly enjoy all the things described by Shakespeare.
Yeah. Shakespeare merely describes it. Does it say that Shakespeare experienced it himself? Shakespeare described it. Shakespeare also had his
Yes.
sources of inspiration. Shakespeare described it. How many people in this world will be able to experience it? Very few. Very few. And they have to be very refined people. They have to find that perfect match. If it is a boy, he has to find that girl. And if it is a girl, she has to find that boy. And that is very difficult to find, especially in a world where most of the rati, most of the love is self-centered. It has nothing to do with giving pleasure to others. Why do people get into a romantic relationship? It is because they are unfulfilled and they want self-pleasure. It is not because they want to unconditionally please others. Therefore, the path to this training oneself in Samartha Rati, you need training to understand what is the culture of giving pleasure to Sri Krishna and putting one's pleasures aside. That is what we have to train ourselves into.
Yes, sir. Thank you for that.
Or they're unconsciously driven to recreate a relationship similar to that with their parents.
Yeah. Yeah. Parents and childhood trauma plays a very important role in one's life. If one's parents don't treat one nicely, they don't bring a particular child up nicely, the child forever wants to reclaim himself or herself in the eyes of the parents and spends his or her entire life trying to reclaim themselves in the eyes of the parents. But if the parents bring up a child nicely, good childhood, then that leads to a stable person in the society. Therefore, it is necessary for both parents to be present to raise a child. I once met an individual whose father had left them in their childhood. And this was a devotee, a lady, a Mataji. She said, when I grew up, I always had that feeling, why did my father leave me? Was something lacking in me? So this feeling she was never able to overcome. It's very important. The trauma that children experience in childhood, it keeps them, trying to gain credibility in the eyes of their parents for their entire lives, something which they're not able, some individuals are not able to do that in their entire lifetime. So it's important to raise good children.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Next we have Kamala Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam Prabhuji. Please accept my sincere humble obeisances at your lotus feet. Thank you so much, Tameshwar Prabhuji, for wonderfully hosting this series, and really grateful to all the Vaishnavas for asking so many great queries, so that it further clarifies onto the topic. And thank you so much, Prabhuji, for taking so much time and effort to enlighten us and giving us so much knowledge about each and every aspect of bhakti. I'm really grateful to you, Prabhu. So my question is in reference to, or is a follow-up question for the question that Jay Gorang Prabhuji asked about the rasas. So various rasas and the stages. So Prabhuji, is there any literature that you can pinpoint that we can read so that we can get an idea of all the rasas and all the stages in those rasas? Then that would be very helpful.
Yeah, so the basic literature is Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu. It gives all the stages and sub-stages of every rasa. And Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu is complete because Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu does not give much details about Madhurya Ras. So Sri Rupa Goswami wrote a supplement to Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu, which is Ujjvala Nilamanih, which is specifically for Madhurya Ras. So Ujjvala Nilamanih is the continuation of, or you can say supplementary portion of Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu. But Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu is in general for all the rasas, including Shanta Rasa, all the details. Ujjvala Nilamanih is a specific literature only for Madhurya Rasa. But since it is a very esoteric literature, Ujjvala Nilamanih, therefore devotees are generally advised to read Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu. But if somebody has the blessings and permission of their Guru Janas, they can read Ujjvala Nilamanih too. That is the answer to your question.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji.
Next we have Ananga Mohan Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Dhanapram. Thanks a lot for such a wonderful class again, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, my question is regarding this Palya Das Ras. There is a song written by Sri Bhakti Vinod Thakur, Palya Dasi Kori Lalita Sundari. So, can we say this Palya Dasi, which is referred by Sri Bhakti Vinod Thakur ji, is the Ras of Sankula Rati, because it is in the Madhurya Ras, as well as you stated, the Palya Das Ras is also there.
Prabhuji, that is Das, Das as Palya, which means as a relative of Sri Krishna, who is fully maintained by Sri Krishna. Palya Dasi, we want to become of Sri Radha, not of Sri Krishna.
Yes, Sri Radha. So that is in Madhurya Ras, but
So what is your ras towards Krishna there? The ras which is towards Krishna is what matters. The mood towards Sri Krishna is what is counted as your ras.
So that is Madhurya Ras. Okay, thanks.
Because what you are confusing a ras which is described in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu in relationship with Sri Krishna with what Sri Bhakti Vinod Thakur is saying in relationship with Sri Radha.
Yeah, so I got confused. Thank you, Prabhuji, for clarification. Thanks a lot. Hare Krishna.
Next we have Jai Gauranga Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. In the reply to Jai Dwarka Prabhu, you mentioned that Siddha Desh revealed Sampati Dasha, and also mentioned that in the beginning of Raganuga Bhakti, we need a lolyam and also a Dheya, Siddha Dheya, where we do Mansik Seva. So are these two different Siddha Dheya, or like what it's?
Which two are you speaking about, Prabhu?
Like in the beginning of Raghunaga Bhakti, we need a devotee when performing Raghunaga Sadhana Bhakti also does a Mansik Seva. So that Seva is done like in the mind, or like through which some because he has to assume some form and to do Mansik Seva, no?
So the thing is, Sri Narottam Das Thakur has answered this in his Prem Bhakti Chandrika. I will show you what Sri Narottam Das Thakur says. Can you read this, Prabhuji?
साधने भव्य है सिद्ध देह पावता.
Sadhane bhaviva yaha siddha dehe pavataha. Whatever bhavana you do in your sadhana, that you will attain in your siddha avastha. But that bhavana also has to come at a proper mature stage. If somebody just imagines oneself to be something and then starts meditating like that, this is not how it works. Therefore, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur, Srila Prabhupada, they recommend that you go through the Shravan Dasha, Varan Dasha, come to know the entire Siddhanta, know the entire working of the spiritual world, and then you, in a mature state, come to a conception of your Siddha. And that mature conception, when you perform Manasi Seva through that, Siddha Dehe Pavatata, that you will attain. So that is what is needed. Otherwise, what is that? Some person does not even know what is Samartha Rati, what is Sadharani Rati, what is Samanjasa Rati. And then they don't know the basics of Rati, Bhav, Prema, Mana, Pranaya, all these things. And then they suddenly think, oh, now I will start meditating on my Siddha Deha. Now I need a Siddha Deha. So when they don't even know what sort of a mood they have, what are the details of that mood, and what sort of a conception will they have? Therefore, a guru is needed on this path. The path is esoteric, and therefore a guru is also needed for such a path. You can't just traverse on the path without help from a person who's expert on the path. You cannot do this simply by reading books. You need a person to clarify your doubts.
So like you mentioned that the Raghunaga Bhakti is also sadhana bhakti. Like when we person having an anartha can also practice it. So if one has the lolyam and he has the mature guidance of an exalted devotee, under his expert guidance only one can start practicing Raganuga Bhakti, right?
Yeah, but in the beginning stages, they may have some anarthas. Anarthas remain till the stage of bhav also. They are some material desires, some material anarthas remain till the stage of bhav also. They are fully clarified only in the stage of prema. That is very clearly mentioned. Does it mean that you will not begin Raganuga Bhakti till you attain prema? That is self-contradictory. You are doing Raganuga Bhakti so you can attain prema. Why will you postpone your Raganuga Bhakti till you first become fully free of material desires? So yes, you need mature guidance of a guru who will tell you how to deal with your material desires, who will tell you in a mature way how to continue your sadhana, not be disturbed by the occasional biting of material desires, and then how to remain fixed in your seva, etc. All this. For that you need a guru. Otherwise, if you take information from anybody, then they will tell you something which may discourage you. For example, you may go to somebody and they may say, no, unless you are fully free from material desires, don't even think of beginning any such thing as Raganuga Bhakti. All right. Then what is the next thing? First, free yourself of all material desires. Okay. How? Just engage your mind in Krishna Seva. Okay. So, which type of Seva? Just any Seva. Are Baba, but whatever you do in your sadhana dasha, that is what you attain in siddha dasha. So we want to have a specific type of seva. We want to have a specific conception of our relationship. Not just fill your mind with anything, whatever you can get your hands on, and just avoid lust. Here there is neti, negativity, remove negativity. This is the primary concern. Anartha nivritti is not the main concern. The main concern is artha pravritti. What will we do? That is what is the main concern. And most people do not teach us what is artha pravritti. And because most people don't teach us what is artha pravritti, therefore, many devotees are not even able to enter into the path of Raganuga Bhakti.
So Prabhuji, but how can a sadhaka can attain the true genuine conception of his spiritual identity in this before anartha nivritti?
He cannot attain. Therefore, the Guru tells him to go through the dashas, Smaran Dasha. At the end of Smaran Dasha, his spiritual identity is revealed to him. But does it mean that he should not engage in Smaran just because he is having anarthas?
But that smaran what was the basis of that smaran then?
That is
Because
passive.
the identity.
That is passive. Without an identity, you see the pastimes of Bhagavan Sri Krishna as they are described by the previous acharyas.
Okay, so you go through the stage and slowly when it gets
Yes.
revealed.
Yes. That is what is the path shown by the previous acharyas. There is another path called as Siddha Pranali, which I discussed in a previous talk. I am not sure whether you were there in that talk or not.
Yes, bro, I was there.
So I have discussed both the paths. Both paths are respectable for us. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur had Siddha Pranali. I had specified in that part. That is also respect. But most people today are not eligible because with material desires to get a preconception of your spiritual identity. A guru may be Siddha. He may give a conception. The disciple is not capable of handling it. What will the disciple do with an identity for which he is not mature enough? Therefore, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur says, first become mature, then get the identity. That is the only difference between Siddha Pranali and what Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur is recommending. Nothing else.
Thank you, Prabhu. I have one more question.
Can we come back to you, Prabhuji?
Sure, Prabhu.
Thank you so much. I have a question, Prabhu.
Yeah.
You explained how in the love of the gopis, there's no selfish desire for their own enjoyment. And so then how do we understand statements where they seem to express a desire to enjoy with Krishna, like Damo Daradhara Sudam Abigopikanam?
So how do we understand, because the verse that you spoke, Prabhu, many devotees may not be aware of it. So you'll have to clarify the meaning of that verse so that devotees can understand the question.
The gopis are saying, well, who is this flute and how they earn this position? You know, Krishna's lips and the nectar of his lips belongs to us, but the flute is just enjoying it without restriction when it really belongs to us.
Right. So in this particular emotion, what is this? There is what is called as irshya. There is jealousy being experienced by the gopis. So what is the query exactly here?
It sounds like they have a desire to enjoy kissing Krishna.
They may have a desire to enjoy kissing Krishna, but more prominent than that is to give pleasure to Krishna through the act of such kissing. Why is Krishna happy? Why is she making Krishna happy? We should make Krishna happy. That desire is also very prominently present in the gopis. See, there is a difference between the jealousy of the Dwarka queens and the jealousy of the gopis. In Dwarka, when the queens become jealous of each other's good fortune, when they sometimes perceive that Krishna, for some time they may see that Krishna is showing greater attraction towards another queen, what they try to do is they try to tell the other queen, oh, your father is calling you, you know, he's not happy now, he's not feeling well, please go visit him. They try to remove her from the picture itself. But when it comes to the Vrajagopis, they will never try to remove the flute from the picture. Is there any verse where the gopis say that we will take this flute out of Vrindavan and make sure that it never again reaches the lotus lips of Shri Krishna?
Definitely not.
That is the secret to understanding the mood of the gopis. If they were truly jealous of the flute, they would have said, let's remove her from our path. But they are not. Their jealousy is simply but an expression of self-pity, which, and which is good. But they will never, if Krishna is getting pleasure from that, then let Krishna get pleasure from that. There is a verse in the Ujjvala Nilamanih, by the way, which I'll try to find. Yes, I will share this verse on the screen, and I'm sorry, I will translate it on the fly. This is from the 14th chapter of Ujjvala Nilamanih. Sayya dukkha svikara tat sukha kamata. Even if intolerable pain is there, still we want Krishna's pleasure. Syanna saukyam yadapi balavat goshtamapte mukunde yadyalpapirkshatirudayate tasya magat kadapi apraptesmin yadapi nagaradartirugra bhavenna saukyam tasya spurati hridi chet tatra vasam karotu. So, Sri Radha is saying to Uddhav, what is she saying? Syanna Saukyam Yadapi Balivad Goshtham Apte Mukunda. Even if Mukunda returns to Vrindavan, we will have immense happiness if he returns. But Yadi Alpapi Kshatirudayate, but even if a tiny fraction of harm is going to come to him because of his returning, Tasya Magat Katapi, let him never return. Apraptesmin Yadapi Nagarad Arti Rugra Bhavenna. And if he never returns, although we will have immense distress, still, Saukhyam Tasya Spurati Hridichet, still if his heart is happy, Tatra Vasam Karotu, let him remain in Dwarka forever. This is the mood of the Vrajagopis. When we understand this mood, then we will know what is Samartha Rati. So gradually we have to understand each and every statement. Then we will come to know it. I hope this verse shed some light on the mood of the gopis.
Yes, answers the question. It's really mind-blowing. Did you have more questions, Jagranga Prabhu?
Yes, Prabhu. Prabhu, I just wanted to clarify, like you mentioned, man as a second stage, second level of Vipralamba rasa,
Second
and
type.
also
Second type.
second type.
Yeah.
And also there is a man which comes after sneha, when we're discussing these levels of both are same or different?
Yeah, both are same, because that is when the examples of man which are given there are the same as the examples of man which are given here. What is man? Man is also a stage of development of love, and man is also a type of separation. So since the names are common to both of them, therefore Sri Rupa Goswami has not given separate names. That is what it is.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Next we have Sachindra Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranams to all the Vaishnavas. Excellent class. This may be an esoteric question, but I'll ask it. Does Krishna experience any of these moods of separation himself from the gopis and all of the residents of Raj, such as specifically like Man? Does he have any pastimes of that?
Oh yes. There are pastimes where Krishna enters into Man. There are pastimes where he cries for the Brajavasis. So many verses where he's crying for the Brajavasis. Have you heard a verse where Krishna is crying for the Brajavasis, for Mother Yashoda, etc.?
You know, I have read it, and that's why I'm asking. I don't remember the specifics in Gopal Champu. I've seen it, but
No, it's in Padyavali also. I'm not sure if I quoted it ever here. In Padyavali, there is a verse. I will share my screen. Here it is in the Padyavali. Ambulam swamukharda charvitamita. It should be charvitam. Charvitamita. Ko me mukhe nikshiper. Unmarga prasritam cha chatu vachanai. Ko mam vashe sthapayet. Ehye hiti vidura sarita bhuja. Swanke nidhayadhuna. केलिस्रस्त शिखंडकं मम पुनर्व्याधूय बध्नातुका. Krishna is crying in separation. He is remembering Mother Yashoda. Tambulam, who will give me betel nut? Betel nut you can get anywhere in Dwarka. No. Swamukhartha charvitam, that which has been partially bitten by the mouth of Mother Yashoda. Itaha ko me mukhe nikshipet. Now who will put such half-chewed sweet betel nut in my mouth? Unmarga prasritam. Today, if I walk on an incorrect path in life, if I do something incorrect, everybody glorifies me because I am the king. Chatu vachanai. Who will give me sweet words and vashe sthapayat? Who will bring me back on the correct path in life? Ehye hiti vidura sarita bhuja swanke nidhayaduna. Who will call me? Ehi, come here, make me sit on her lap. And again retie my peacock feather which has fallen out due to playing too much in Vraja. Who will do that today? Is there anybody who can do that in Dwarka? Rajendra Krishna Prabhu.
No, not in that mood.
So, who lost out? Krishna or the Brajavasis?
That's a tough question. Both.
Who lost out more?
It's Krishna.
That's the answer.
Yeah, when I'm reading Gopal Champu, I see a lot of that when Krishna is talking to Narada Muni and he's explaining, he feels that separation very deeply. So yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhu. Param Karuna Prabhu had raised his hand.
Yes, Prabhuji, thank you so much. I would request you to could you share that last verse from Ujjvala Nilamanih once again, Prabhuji?
Sure, why not? The one where Sri Radha is saying that, this is the one. स्यान्नः सौख्यं यदपि बलवत् गोष्ठमाप्ते मुकुन्दे यद्यल्पापि क्षतिरुदयते तस्य मागात् कदापि अप्राप्तेऽस्मिन् यदपि नगरादार्तिरुग्रा भवेन्न सौख्यं तस्य स्फुरति हृदि चेत् तत्र वासं करोतु.
I'll have to re-listen to your lecture to understand the translation again. I kind of.
You want me to translate again? I'll do that.
Very nice, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Syan, there will be. Naha saukhyam. For us, there will be immense happiness. Balavat saukhyam. Tremendous happiness. Yadapi, even though. When will there be immense happiness for us, gopis? Goshtham apte mukunde. When Mukunda comes back to Goshtha Vrindavan. But yadi, if alpapi kshatirudayate, when a tiny bit of harm is going to come to him, tasya, for him, ma agat kadapi, let him never come. Let him never ever come here. And aprapte asmin, if he doesn't come here, yadapi nagarat, from Dwarka, from Dwarka, if he never comes here, arti rugra bhaven, there will be immense arti, immense pain for her, for us. Still, saukhyam tasya spurati hridi, if there is happiness in his heart, chet, if, then tatra vasam karoti, let him stay there. That is the mood of Sri Radha. Sri Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, Vrajan mathuram yasyantam tat priye khalu kam sandesham upaharishyami iti prichantam uddhavam prati Sri Radha praha. From Vraja he is going to Mathura. And what message should I give to your Priya, to Sri Krishna? Uddhav is asking. Sri Radha replies to him, this is the message you should give to him. So that is.
The context is a response to Sri Uddhavji. Thank you.
This.
What meter was that in?
This is Mandakranta, same meter.
Second line didn't. I was thinking, but second line didn't seem to.
Syanna saukyam yadapi balavad goshtamapte mukunde yadyalpapi kshatirudayate tasya magat kadapi apraptesmin yadapi nagaradartirugra bhavenna saukyam tasya spurati hridi chet tatra vasam karotu. Mandakranta. Right?
Thank you.
I have another question, Prabhuji.
Yeah.
Why is there only one example of sadhana, how do you say it?
Sadharani rati.
Sadharani rati.
The other courtesans of Dwarka are example of Sadharani rati.
I'm sorry?
Courtesans. That's the
courtesans.
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah, I think they're mentioned in the first canto.
Yes. They are example of Sadharani rati.
Oh. Yeah, I mean Prabhupada's purport is really like.
Why do we have
confusing for a lot of
prostitutes in
people.
Dwarka? How can we have prostitutes in Dwarka? Isn't prostitution against, how can they be prostitutes and be present in the spiritual world? So basically, a courtesan is, they can be present in the spiritual world, but their desires are aimed exclusively at pleasing Sri Krishna, but their self-pleasure is the greater factor in such a desire. And their desire will never be directed towards anybody other than Sri Krishna. That is how prostitutes can be present in Sri Dwarka. That is the answer. Finally, that is the answer to that query.
They're the courtesans of the king exclusively.
Yes. Wonderful.
And Kubja is different?
Kubja is also a courtesan.
Okay.
But she is prominent because she is mentioned in the Bhagavatam by her name. Others are not mentioned by their names. But Acharya say Kubja Adi, Kubja etc. When they say etc., obviously they have somebody in their mind. Who is that? Who is included in the etc.? Other courtesans of Dwarka are included in that.
And what is the Sanskrit phrase for them that's used? I looked it up the other day.
Sairendri.
Again?
Sairendri.
Sarindri. Okay. I looked it up the other day because we were reading the first canto, my wife and I, and she got confused when it mentioned prostitute. So I looked up the Sanskrit. And I found also in the 10th canto pastimes where the same word, Krishna is having water sports with them in Dwarka. So
Yeah.
and I thought, oh, okay, they're not just prostitutes of the town and city for anyone and everyone, but they're exclusively the King Krishna's.
So not only are they, I mean, not only is prostitution is a very crass term to describe it. They are basically servants of the king's palace who engage in various other sevas such as, decorating the hair of the queens and, dressing the queens, so on and so forth. They may do various other sevas. That is what is the meaning of that. Draupadi, when for 1 year they were in incognito, she took the role of a Sairindri. But this does not mean that she was available to anyone and everyone. She made it clear that, I am married to, this particular person. But there was a person named Kichak who thought of her as a society girl and tried to attack her, thinking, well, anyway, she's a Sairindri. So, I can put my hands on her. And that was the final desire that Kichak had, because Bhim murdered him after that for putting his hands on Draupadi.
In English, we also have the word consort.
Yeah, consort. Courtesan.
Yeah, and it has more of the connotation of like spending time with someone. Maybe a man is lonely and you spend time with them. Prostitute has the connotation of just sex.
Yeah.
So I think that's why it's confusing sometimes.
Yeah. So if you go to Japan, you can hire not you, but anyone can hire a person simply for spending time. So you get boyfriends and girlfriends on hire, just so that you can spend time talking to each other. You have to pay somebody so that they can talk, because there's so much loneliness. So people often just want a boy or a girl to talk to them for some time. That's what it is. So all these functions are combined in a courtesan.
And one last thing, I think this might be relevant for others to understand Prabhupada's words also. I've always had the impression that sometimes when Srila Prabhupada will use the word prostitute, what we might use is girlfriend.
Yeah.
For example, Chintamani, the former girlfriend of Bilva Thakur. I mean, are we talking about a woman who, sells her body, or are we just talking about a woman who is willing to have premarital sex?
She's a lady who's expert in music, art, 64 arts, and at the same time she's available to men in society in exchange of wealth. That is what, because now the modern connotation of the term prostitute is somebody who's available simply for a physical relationship and the other arts are not involved. Traditionally, that was not the only aspect of, having an extramarital relationship. The other person should also have some art and musical talents, and how else can a person become attractive? So those are the ways in which you attract people from the society. Kubja specifically also performed the function of prostitution, because it is mentioned that when Krishna went with Uddhav to her home, Krishna saw paintings on the wall which were basically paintings of a very provocative nature. And Uddhav is little ashamed. Krishna is not. So, it's because Uddhav still, he has that element of gyan in him that, no, say no. They say no to this. This is not to be accepted. That is not to be accepted. So that element in Uddhav keeps him a little distant from all these things. But the very reason why those paintings were there in Kubja's home, it is very obvious, because she used to perform that function.
I don't know if I should go any further down this rabbit
Okay.
hole, Prabhuji. Okay, we have another question from Jai Garanga Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. You mentioned in the sadhaka there one can only develop till prema, the second stage of prema, and for further development one has to take birth in a Bhauma Vrindavan with Krishna, should have blood relationship. But in the autobiography of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he mentioned that once his form was revealed, he experienced the anuraga. So was he like at stage of anuraga, and then in this body itself he like elevated to stage of further development of prema?
I'm not sure if it is in his autobiography. Somebody may have written that about him. But in his autobiography, I don't think he mentions anything like that. Because what is most important is what a particular Acharya says about himself.
You mean to say that is like the person who translated the biography, he may have.
I'm not sure where it was, which biography this was, or where it was mentioned. But I know one thing Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur has said in his own Jaiva Dharma and Chaitanya Shikshamrit, that Purva Rag is the limit to which, with the basically Prema is the limit to which Jiva can experience while in this body. So he also specifies the same thing. I will specify this. See here, I will share my screen. This is from Shikshashtakam commentary. And this is also slightly approximate translation. Can you read this, Prabhuji?
Self-realized Rasika devotees have divided Vipralamba or the mode of separation into Purva Rag, Man, Pravas, and so on. At the recondite import lodged deep within this sloka composed by Lord Chaitanya is that the devotee living in this world need only relish this separation of Purva Raga.
So only the first stage, basically in the stage of Prema, only the first stage is experienced. So Man, etc., further stages are not experienced. So that is Bhaktivinoda Thakur's own commentary. Prabhu, he has mentioned that. Nothing out of the box that I'm saying. In Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu, till what point does Sri Rupa Goswami take you?
Prema.
That's it. And whatever further developments are mentioned in Ujjvala Nilamanih, all the examples, not a single example is of a sadhak bhakta. The implication is clear.
Okay, so the nitya-siddha devotees who are performing pastime here, when they appear, they experience the full extent of prema.
Guruji, this nitya-siddha devotees, when they come here, are they playing the role of nitya-siddha, or are they playing the role of a sadhaka here in this world?
Sadhaka.
So they will display characteristics according to a sadhaka, right?
Okay, so I mean only in their spiritual bodies they experience the full extent of prema.
Yes. Wonderful. Because that is the body which is capable of experiencing it. You need a specific type of body to experience that. That is possible in that specific body.
Thank you, Prabhu.
One last question, Prabhuji. Would it be correct to understand that in the mood of the gopis, emotions and love are more prominent, whereas in the love of the queens of Dwarka and then Kubja, etc., like interactions of the senses are more prominent, the spiritual senses?
Even in the gopis, there is a lot of interaction of the spiritual senses. Because till now we are only discussing separation. When we discuss union, the limits to which Sri Rupa Goswami will take union, but I'm afraid, therefore I'm not going to do that in great detail. But the limits to which Sri Rupa Goswami takes union is, you will not find such examples even with the queens of Dwarka. Therefore, Sri Radha's Prema, Madanakhya Mahabhava means all varieties of union have to be included there to the fullest possible extent. That is when, therefore, in the interactions of the gopis, there's a lot of, there's a lot of union. But since those discussions are not of a public nature, therefore, I am only taking up discussions mainly pertaining to separation. So that is what is, otherwise, when I have done my reading, I have seen all those I've read all those interactions and seen the commentaries of the acharyas. They are very detailed and all the senses are involved. That, but not to be described in public, because Srila Prabhupada warned about such discussions in public. It can potentially disturb some people. Separation is good, and I mean, separation is good because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would relish separate mood of separation. Also, devotees, separation is okay. Devotees can relate to it and without getting disturbed. But union, I'll be careful with my selection of verses when I come to that particular point.
That makes it very clear, Prabhuji. We got a couple questions in the chat. Bhagavat Kata Prabhu, I heard that there are some pastimes where gopis try to steal Krishna's flute. Is it not in the mood of jealousy? Then what bhava behind it, Prabhu?
Certainly, they don't steal it to put it permanently out of Sri Krishna's reach. They know that the flute is the only way Krishna attracts them and calls them. So how will they do they want to permanently throw out the flute from Rajan? But in Dwarka, there is certainly the mood, let this queen go away, so that I will get more time with Sri Krishna. So that competitive mood is more in Dwarka. In Vraja, that mood is not there.
Then we have a question from Bhagavati Vasudha Mataji. Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Panchanga Pranams. How is it possible to have a Madhurya relation with Krishna and please Radharani also? Is it not contradictory? Gaudiya Vaishnava, for whom Radharani's heart is very important, have Madhurya with Krishna. Will it be loyal to Radharani and pleases Radharani?
Those who have not understood the mood of Sri Radharani may have a doubt. What is the mood of Sri Radha? That Krishna belongs exclusively to me and to nobody else? What is her mood? This is what we need to understand, because the mood of Sri Radha is whatever gives pleasure to Sri Krishna, I will facilitate that. Whatever gives pleasure to Sri Krishna, I will facilitate that. If it means that Krishna wants to fall in love with this particular another gopi, I will facilitate that. And so the other gopi is also thinking, whatever facilitates Sri Krishna's pleasure, if it means that Sri Radha's, if we have to arrange a meeting of Sri Radha and Sri Krishna, we will facilitate that. So that's a very different mindset than the competitiveness where only I should have Krishna and nobody else should have Krishna. So Madhurya with Sri Krishna, Dasya with Sri Radha, Radha Dasyam, Sri Krishna Madhuryam. This is the mood of the Gaudiya Vaishnava. It's very simple.
Why then is Radharani angry when Krishna goes to see Chandravali?
To please Sri Krishna, not because she is genuinely angry with Sri Krishna. To please Sri Krishna, she is angry with Sri Krishna. That is the reason why she is angry with Sri Krishna. Why else would she become angry with Sri Krishna? Does she have rag and dvesh that are described in Bhagavad Gita as the conditioning factors of the living entity? Does she have rag and dvesh? No, she doesn't have.
No. It's a great answer, Prabhuji. And we have one question from Manohar Gopal Prabhu.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. Thank you so much for the wonderful class, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, one thing you mentioned about some acharyas who are in their mood didn't express or something like that, which I didn't catch properly. Can you please elaborate, Prabhuji?
What?
Some acharyas who are not in the Madhurya.
You can always go back and listen to the class again.
Some acharyas were not in Madhurya Rasa. What did they not explain?
No, I didn't catch exactly, Prabhuji, what
Yeah,
you...
so maybe you can, as Dhameshwar Mahaprabhu said, maybe you can go back to that. If you still have a doubt about it, you can post it in the group, because I'm not sure what section you're asking about.
Okay, Prabhuji. And another question, Prabhuji, the Purva Rag, so that's like, does it happen only in the Bhauma Vrindavan? Because Krishna and Radharani are always daily meeting there in the spiritual world, right? Whereas only here they are meeting for the first time that happens. Does it mean that that's there only in the Bhauma Vrindavan pastimes?
No. It also takes place in the spiritual world. Yogamaya is capable of ensuring that certain events occur again and again in the spiritual world. So that is her capability. But I'll not get, because I'll have to go into Laghu Bhagavatamritam and Brihad Bhagavatamritam for that. There is a cyclic nature of the pastimes in the spiritual world, which I'll not get into here.
Okay. Thank you.
I need to pass my role as host to Paramakaruna Prabhu now.
Sure.
We'll go with Kriparam Prabhu. Please unmute.
Dandavas Pranam Hari Prabhu and all the Vaishnavas. I have some confusion about the last class. First, you say me that the only living entity that have the possibility to experience Madanakhya Mahabhava is Sri Radha. But I don't know if I don't understand, but after that you say me that Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu experienced Madanakhya Mahabhava. And I read the Chaitanya Charitamrita Antya Lila, chapter 19, and there are two verses in 106, 107 that the author say that when Lord Chaitanya speak in a madness way, is similar to the mood of Radharani in the Brahma Gita, in the Ten Canto, and the Acharya say that this expression in the Brahma Gita is Madanakhya Mahabhava.
Yeah. So Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to experience what Sri Radha had experienced. And therefore he was able to experience because he was Antah Krishna Bahir Gaura. Basically, he's also carrying the mood of Sri Radha. Because he's carrying the mood of Sri Radha, therefore Sri Krishna is able to experience the mood of Radha. If he doesn't carry the mood of Radha, can Krishna also experience her mood? Answer is no. Because Krishna carried the mood of Sri Radha, therefore he was able to experience the mood of Sri Radha. Actually, the mood belongs exclusively to Sri Radha. What you are speaking about, Brahma Gita, where she goes into Prajalpa and Jalpa, there are many varieties of that, Chitra Jalpa, Prajalpa, etc. Many varieties are given there. So these are all experienced during Madanakhya Mahabhava, and when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu experienced them, he was basically Sri Krishna experiencing the mood of Sri Radha. So it's not that Sri Krishna developed a separate mood. He is on borrowed mood. His mood is borrowed. He is living on borrowed mood there. So that is the mood borrowed from Sri Radha. The mood originally belongs exclusively to Sri Radha. And this is very clearly mentioned by Sri Rupa Goswami in Ujjvala Nilamanih. This is Madanakhya Mahabhava. Atha Madanaha. Now he is saying, now I will define Madanakhya Mahabhava. And then he says, Madanoyam Paratpara. The greatest of the great is Madanakhya Mahabhava. Rajate Hladini Saro. This is the condensed essence of Hladini Shakti. Madanakhya Mahabhava. Radhayam Eva. Sada. It is always present only, Eva, exclusively in one entity. Which entity is that?
Sri Radha.
That's it. That's the Siddhanta. Now, once you know the Siddhanta, you can never go wrong. So, first I have studied the verse, then I have made the statement that it resides exclusively in Sri Radha. And in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is basically Krishna who has borrowed the mood. So, he's living on borrowed mood there. So, that is Krishna living on rental property. That is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. That is what it is.
Okay. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
We have another question from Sachindra Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. My question is about the mood. You know, we hear a lot of lectures and read scriptures and from your talks about how the mood of wanting to please Krishna is the highest and most enjoyable. How do we theoretically and mentally we can say, yes, I want to please Krishna, but how does that from theoretical or mental become innate in a person in which they feel that innately throughout their body versus just being in a mental or theoretical conception? How does one get to that symptoms? Is it how does it become internalized to the point where it is their very essence?
It becomes internalized by empathizing with an existing devotee who is situated in that mood. When we read the writings of Shri Rupa and Shri Raghunath, Rupa Raghunath Pade Haibe Akuti, when we have empathy for the poetry of Shri Rupa and Raghunath, Tabe Hama Bujabo, then we understand Yugala Pariti. When we will empathize with the mood of Shri Rupa and Shri Raghunath, and when somebody makes us understand that mood, at that point of time, we will know what emotions were there behind that mood. At that point of time, we will hanker for attaining that mood, and we will also wish to serve in that mood. Right now, we don't have an idea of that mood because in the material world, we never saw such a mood. But such a mood exists. We should know that such a mood exists. Such an ideal exists in the spiritual world, and it has been described to a great extent by the previous acharyas. By empathizing with them under the guidance of a devotee who is already trained in this culture, we will also develop that same mood. I will give you an example of this, although this example is, I don't know how many people will understand. There is a country in this world named North Korea, which is completely cut off from the rest of the world. And there are dictators ruling over this country. And the previous dictator, who was the father of the current dictator, when he died, everybody in the country was supposed to cry. Anybody who did not cry was put into prison. Like this is what happened. So some people, they have been trained in this culture for so long that they actually genuinely felt for that deceased leader and they cried piteously. That is because they were trained in that culture. So the living entity has the tendency of aligning with any culture that the living entity gets training in. Therefore, if we know that this is the highest ideal of Prema in the spiritual world, and if we train ourselves in that particular culture, there is a possibility that we may be able to empathize with it and we may be able to hanker for that ideal. That is what I would like to say at this point of time.
So that crying that the North Koreans did, you're saying that their training was it was genuine.
Yeah, because of so much training at one point of time, some people genuinely felt that emotion towards that dictator. Although it's a very crass example, I gave this example just because we can have a faint idea of what empathy can produce.
Okay, so that makes sense.
Yeah, in a room, if you put 10 children and 2 or 3 of them start crying, 4 of them start crying, what is going to happen to the rest of them gradually?
Yeah, they will feel sad and disheartened and even cry if they have, a soft heart.
Because greater empathy exists in children, therefore they cry. So when our heart is simple, childlike, and empathizing with the mood of the previous acharyas without any preconditions or reservations, we will be able to experience what they are experiencing.
Thank you, Rupa. Last thing is what you said before is that when you come in contact with a spiritual teacher or guru that has that can teach empathy, I think that's key, but unfortunately that's the hard part that we faced in today's technological and world, in which everyone is so separated and moving around so much versus in previous times. And that is the hardest part we find today. Unless you go to Govardhan and sit down at the, at a Babaji's feet and serve them for months and months and get that shiksha. In the world we live in today, it's almost impossible to get that unless you give up something significant to get that association. That's the lamentable situation of our condition now.
Yeah, and not simply a Babaji in Govardhan. It can be a devotee can manifest themselves even in Navadvip or in Jagannath Puri or any other place in the world. They have to be a bhakta of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, a devotee of Sri Rupa Goswami. And second thing is, it is difficult, but still giving up material comforts is one limb of devotional service. Krishnasya arthe bhogasya tyaga is one of the 64 limbs of bhakti. And therefore, it's such an important limb because it helps us attain proximity to those who are truly dedicated to the path of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
Thank you, Prabhu. Yes.
Thank you. That was so wonderful. Krishna Sethe Bhoga Tyaga. One of the first 20 limbs, the foundation. Thank you for reminding that. So I don't think there are any other questions, so we will end it here. Dhameshwar Mahaprabhu Prabhu, are you available here?
Thank you so much, Bhauma Vrindavan Prabhu. And thank you so much, Hari Parsha Prabhu, for a wonderful class and Q&A. It's just so wonderful to have your association. And Rangadevi says Haribol.
Haribol, Rangadevi. Haribol.
I'll invite all the devotees now to unmute and give a big thank you to Hari Parsha Prabhu.
Thank you, Hari Prabhu. Thank you so much, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Prabhuji, very much for
Prabhuji.
wonderful class.
His Grace Hari Pasha Prabhuji.
Jai
Jai.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Jai Srila Prabhupada.
Thank you,
Jai
Prabhuji.
Srila
Thank you so
Goswami
much.
Prabhupada. Jai Prabhupada.
Wonderful as
Hare Krishna Prabhu, thank you so much,
Hare
Prabhu. Jai.
Hare
Jai
Krishna.
Srila Prabhupada.
Prabhu.
Jai
Jai
Srila
Shri
Prabhupada.
Prabhupada.
Jai. Jai Srila Rupa Goswami Prabhupada. Hare Krishna.
Hare
Jai.
Krishna.
All right. Thank you so much, everyone, for your association. Looking forward to see you soon.